Op hired a nanny with guaranteed hours to ensure her child was always cared for, but the nanny took advantage of their kindness and started slacking, so now she's guaranteed jobless. Posted by you/lovebugduck. We hired our nanny back in June. We pay her for 40 guaranteed hours a week, but we're upfront that we would likely only need her for 32 hours a week and wouldn't need her on Wednesdays. I don't typically work that day, but I might get called into a meeting, want to run kid-free errands, or just have a little time to myself. I mentioned that even on the Wednesdays I do have her come in, it wouldn't be for the entire day. I just wanted to ensure we had care for our son if needed, which is why we pay for the full 40 hours. I usually let her know on Monday or Tuesday of that week if I'll need her or not. Since she started in June, I've asked her to work maybe 4 Wednesdays, spread out. She worked the first 2 after I told her on Monday. I informed her that I would need her one Wednesday in September, letting her know the day before, and she said she had made plans that day. I felt a little weird about it but ultimately let it go. I had wanted to run some kid-free errands but took the opportunity to spend time with my son. Last Friday, I found out I had a meeting on Wednesday. I let the nanny know that night when I relieved her, and she said she had plans. I pointed out that I pay for her to be available on Wednesdays, and she said that since I hadn't needed her to work one in weeks, she felt it was safe to make plans. After discussing it with my husband, we decided to let her have the day off under guaranteed hours. Fortunately, a relative was able to watch my son while I attended my meeting. My husband feels we should have a sit-down discussion since this is the second time it's happened. Otherwise, we're very happy with her, she's amazing with our son. I understand our need for these Wednesdays is sporadic, but I also thought guaranteed hours meant she would be available. She has PTO in the contract, so we're considering telling her that it's fine for her to make plans on those days, but she would need to submit them as PTO. We'd never denied PTO, but that would mean she'd use it up on these Wednesdays. Is that fair? We are first-time parents, and having a nanny is very new to us. As I said, she's amazing with our son, but I'd like to address this issue now. Relevant comments. Commenter. Honestly, you're already being too nice. I would tell her that if she wants Wednesdays off, then you're no longer going to pay her for Wednesdays. The whole point of paying her is to ensure she's available. It's fine for her to make plans, but they need to be plans that can be cancelled or adjusted easily. I'm a nanny, and I used to watch 2 girls who went to school. Their parents paid me while they were in school so I'd stay available in case they were sick or needed to come home early. I can't even imagine telling my employers I had plans and couldn't be there. I think they would have just fired me. Definitely talk to her and let her know that she either needs to keep the day free consistently, use PTO, or you will adjust the guaranteed hours payment to 32 hours, because you're being way too generous. Update 3 months later. We really loved our nanny until we ran into an issue a few months ago. When we hired her, we contracted her for 40 guaranteed hours a week while also being upfront that we probably wouldn't need her most Wednesdays. However, we wanted to have her contracted for that time in case a rare occasion arose when we did need her. The nanny ended up taking advantage of this and treated it as though she had every Wednesday off. If we asked her to come in, giving her a minimum of 24 hours notice, sometimes even days in advance, she would say she was busy, despite being contracted and paid to work that day. The main sub gave me some good advice, and we worked it out, with her seeming to understand the concept of guaranteed hours. She did try to call our bluff once, saying she couldn't come in on a Wednesday, but when I told her she'd have to use PTO, she changed her tune. Since then, she has come in on Wednesdays when asked, maybe a handful of times. Anyway, we recently ran into another issue. My brother is in town for work and has a stretch of time between meetings on Friday. He wanted to take my son to the Children's Museum. We told our nanny that my brother would pick my son up around 10 a.m., take him out, feed him lunch, and drop him off for his nap. We explained that during that time, she was free to do whatever. She has very minimal child-related housework in her contract. Essentially, she would be getting a 4 to 5 hour break since my son naps for 2 hours. I thought this would be ideal, but she said that if my brother took him, she didn't want to deal with my son being hyper from the activity and sad that his uncle had left. We've never done this before, so I admit I don't know exactly how it will go. However, the nanny takes him on outings all the time and brings him back for a nap, so I fail to see how this situation is much different. She really tried to insist that my brother watch him for the rest of the day, which, first, he can't do because of work. And second, I found it very bold of her to assume that was her decision to make. When I said no, she then asked if my husband or I could take time off so she could have the rest of the day off. I told her that if she really wanted the day off, she'd have to use PTO. Once again, she folded and said it was fine, she'd watch him. I think this incident alone wouldn't bother me as much if we weren't still fresh off a previous issue. She's great with my son, but this level of unprofessionalism is starting to get to me, and I feel a little taken advantage of. My husband is also leaning toward finding a new nanny, but I'm nervous about whether this will keep happening. Would we be wrong to fire her over this? Should we have another discussion? Is this just how nannies are? We're first-time parents, and I just feel so lost. Relevant comments. Commenter. Let her go, she's trying to take advantage of this situation. Regardless of guaranteed hours, she's trying to dictate your schedule because she doesn't want to deal with your child's energy, all while getting paid for not working? The entitlement is off the charts. Guaranteed hours are a great benefit for the nanny, but in return, the nanny should be providing great service, not causing you extra stress in your life. Commenter 2. I would start looking for a new nanny. I wouldn't tell her she's dismissed until she leaves on her last day. I'd give her the contractual severance and say goodbye. I don't trust people to care for my loved ones after multiple negative issues, and I don't want them taking their resentment out on my kid. Second update 1 day later. I got a lot of awesome advice yesterday, and ultimately, after talking with my husband, we decided to start looking for a new nanny. I know some suggested having her come in even when I don't need her. One person even suggested having her go to the museum with my brother, all to show her that she has to work. But honestly, if I have to treat her like a toddler, it's not worth it. We are one and done for a reason. I don't need to constantly parent an adult or try to motivate them to do a good job, they should just want to. I also took the advice of waiting to let the nanny know what we were doing until we found a new one, in case she started calling out or slacking off. This morning, when she arrived, I reminded her of the game plan for the day, telling her my brother would pick up our son and then be back by a certain time for the nanny to put him down for a nap. The nanny seemed completely fine, so I headed to work. Around the time my brother picked him up, he sent me a text saying that the nanny had asked if he could keep our son all day. Thankfully, my brother doesn't take bull crap and told her no, reminding her what time he'd be back. I was already pissed and knew I'd have to talk to the nanny but tried to calm down. When my brother arrived to drop our son back off at the agreed time, the nanny wasn't there. My brother contacted me, and I called her. She said she had stepped out to run a few errands and would be back soon. My husband works 5 minutes from our house, so he ended up working from home for the rest of the day to talk to her when she got back, as well as to relieve my brother. She didn't return for an hour. She had no way of knowing my husband had come home. We didn't tell her, so she just assumed my brother was there. My husband fired her. He said she acted very surprised and tried to make excuses, claiming she thought she had time. Part of me can't believe the audacity, but the other part of me is just glad to be done with her. We will make it very clear to the next nanny what our expectations are. I thought we did by outlining guaranteed hours and our needs, but I guess we need to drive the point home even more. Thank you all for the advice and for reassuring me that I'm not crazy. I try hard to be a good boss, and she was great with our son, but I can't tolerate this level of irresponsibility. Up in the comments. She's in her mid-20s. This isn't her first nannying job, and she had great references. But this was her first job with a schedule like this, and I think she's just gotten comfortable with having certain days off.